Yeah.
Right, for her beauty.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't even know what her inner sexuality is yet.
Yeah.
And that can be just taken hold of by someone who's willing to satisfy her.
Yeah.
Her unformed desires.
Well, the pregnant neighbor was her savior in that she introduced her to Changing Bodies, Changing Lives, which was the updated version of Our Bodies, Ourselves, made here in Boston by the Boston's Women Health Collective, you know, and so that to me was a very bold thing to do back in the 80s. It's still even a bold thing to do now. One might think because of her religious upbringing, if you believe the stereotype and the racist slander of Towelhead, that she was Arabic, but she wasn't. They were Christians. And so what did that mean? You know, Christians, Arabic, what did any of that mean in 21st century Texas? Isolated from her mother, isolated from her father. You know, where was the support for her growing up? Yeah. And it was really hard for me to watch the abuse that came at the hands of her father when she needed information.
There's a scene where the neighbor who you're talking about, Toni Collette, and this is Summer Bichelle, who plays the 13-year-old. It's actually, they waited until she was 18 to shoot the movie.
Okay.
And they had 3 body doubles. So if people think they're in for a shock, you know, it's
there's some nudity, but it's like tasteful nudity.
Very quick.
But at the same time that there's nudity and it's tasteful, there's some really disturbing scenes.
Yeah, there are. Well, I was going to say first a non-disturbing scene, which is where she's having her hair combed by Toni Collette, like as a surrogate mother, and to me that's what this girl needed through the whole movie was just to be groomed, just to have somebody sit with her and care about her.
Right, and talk to her.
Yeah.
And listen to her.
Yeah. So we should also mention Aaron Eckhart and Summer Bichelle and Toni Collette. Amazing performances.
Absolutely.
And we don't know the name of the father.
Yeah, but he was off the chain. He was incredible.
You do not know
a man you love to hate.
Yeah. And I think Alan Ball talks about that, how the commitment of these actors to their parts, to not having to be liked. I'm going to play this father, and you're not going to like me.
You're not going to like me.
And Aaron Eckhart didn't want to play the pedophile. And Alan Ball said, well, you know, why? He goes, I play too many of these kinds of parts, and I can't play a pedophile. I will not seduce this 13-year-old girl. And he said, he's not a pedophile. And Aaron Eckhart said, can you explain? And he said, I want it to be more complex than that.
Right.
And I don't know, I've seen it twice, and the complexity drifts away, and I see him as a...
You see him as a
yeah,
pedophile.
he's got a
I see him as a predator, too.
Yeah,
and it made me think about Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, you know, and the whole idea of a 13-year-old girl. And
was Sally Hemings 13?
Yeah, she was 13. And a 40-something-year-old man, you know, and even worse conditions. This is American history now. The worse conditions because Sally Hemings was Thomas Jefferson's slave. So in this instance, in Towelhead, Jazeera is a next-door neighbor, you know. So, but an employee of the pedophile from an arrangement that the father made.
Because
so
he's
babysitting for his
spoiled
bratty little son.
That's a wonderful point, and the way he seduces her, at first he just gazes at her. There's that male gaze.
Yeah.
Just let me look at you.
Right.
And then he says, get on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And it's ugly.
Well, the seduction happens before that. That was the rape.
Seduction,
that was the rape.
Yeah.
But the seduction happens before that. But the sad part for me, too, was that the son that Jazeera was babysitting runs off to his father's weight room that's all decorated in suburban pastels and summer whites by the non-existent mother, and the son goes in the closet to the father's porno stash.
And the father doesn't have a problem with
it. And the stuff's just out there, and the father doesn't have a problem with the son reading the porno stash, but then comes in and harshly critiques the babysitter, the 13-year-old, who's only 5 years older than the son, for reading the magazines as well. And to me, that double standard, it really struck home.
Well, that's
excellent,
and we should talk about those interior spaces. You know, it's all shot and composed with the characters are all, the second time noticing how often they're trapped in the sides of the frame.
Yeah.
They're always over on the side.
Incredible
the environment
camera
has
shots.
taken them over.
Yes.
You know, and they're these air-conditioned, closed-off, darkened interiors lit by bright sunlight coming through curtains, but they're living in these air-conditioned tombs, and then they compose into the corners of those tombs. So everybody feels really trapped by their situations.
Well, the father says in the beginning he's really proud of his air-conditioned tomb.
Yes, he wants to be an American.
Yes.
His flag is taller than his neighbor's.
That's right.
And he puts that up.
That's right.
And just one tip of the hat to Summer Bichelle, who plays the little girl.
Oh, absolutely.
There's something about that performance that allows you into her psychology without giving you much at all. It's a remarkable performance and a nervy performance where you have shots of, you know, condoms and menstrual blood and things that aren't ordinarily the images you're used to in a commercial film.
Yeah.
And she carries it all with such incredible calm and openness.
Right. Well, it comes across, I mean, she's very beautiful, and she's very contained, and yet very expressive. And the innocence of that 13-year-old comes through loud and clear, but also the exploration and the curiosity and the boldness of a 13-year-old. That all comes through. And there isn't like a lot of overacting or drama in her portrayal, but it's very subtle. But because of those very intense kind of camera angles where she's framed just so you catch her reaction just at the right moment, then you really read a lot into what's going on. And I felt very, as I said, very charged to be sitting there next to my eldest daughter, who's now a mother and in her 20s and all that, but to be sitting next to her and seeing it through her eyes and her experience, and then also looking through my own eyes and my own experience, and then thinking of my mother and her experience. And so I said, well, this is, and my daughter, she said, well, we have to wait and see the credits because I have to make sure who this was written by. And when she saw that the writer was a woman, she said, I thought so. There's no way a man could have told that story.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You know,
that's
and so it was.
And what you say is so true about the movie in general. It's played so subtly and so quietly, it forces you to enter into it. It allows you to enter and question your own sense of values and your own relationship to that reality, which has been really nicely framed on the screen.
Quite a challenging film, though.
It is, and people should get out and see it. I don't think the reviews are being fair in some cases to it. I think it's a really
I actually didn't read
film.
any reviews before this, but I'm wondering, would you recommend it for someone to bring their 13-year-old daughter to come see this film?
I'm really in favor of that kind of open discussion. I don't think, as Alan Ball said, what a shot of some of the taboo things that are in that movie are just biological. I mean, and that
well, in comparison to what kids can see for free at all times of the night and day.
There's just no way in this world that they shouldn't be able to be in a movie where those discussions will come out.
You have to keep the conversation going, and not only keep it going, but it's not a lecture. It's a dialogue.
And a movie, I think, helps create a dialogue.
Yeah.
Especially if you go out to that theater where other people are having that dialogue too.
Great.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you, Timothy.
All right. And we'll see you at the Coolidge.